Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Watchin You. I'm your guest host, Christine Vitale from WFDU-FM in the New York, New Jersey metro area. This episode is all about Christine 16 because I'm Christine 16 and I'm a really big Kiss fan. And I want to pose 16 different Kiss-related topics to Jeff and Jeff and ask them some very thought-provoking questions. So you're not going to want to miss this episode.
Christine, 16, Christine, yeah. You're so clean, Christine, yeah.
Hey, Jeff and Jeff. Both Paul and Gene have said that Kiss will continue to exist even when they themselves can no longer be in the band. Some like to call that the Menudo version of the band. You age out and you're replaced by somebody younger. So I want to know what you think. How long will it be before Evan and Nicholas replace Gene and Paul, respectively? That's what I see when I look into my crystal ball.
Hey, it's Jeff Scott here in St. John, New Brunswick, and we'd like to thank Christine Vitale coming to us from New Jersey, our special guest host tonight. And we're going to jump right into it. It's a very exciting show. Christine, we hope you like the effort that we went through tonight to try and replicate your style and your fashion. Good job there, Jeff.
Thank you, sir. I look tough, don't I?
All right, so what do you think, Jeff, the Menudo version? Do you think Evan and Nicholas can continue Kiss?
Well, the question was, how long before they do it? Right?
My question is, can they do it?
Well, that's a good question. I think that's the first question I have. Two things. Can they do it? Three things. Can they do it? Do they want to do it? Do I want them to do it? Those are the three things that come to my mind. Can they do it? I don't know. I mean, everybody's making the assumption that Nick is going to take over for his dad and Evan's going to take over for Paul, but I don't know that they really have the same kind of talents that the guys in Kiss do.
Okay, I know Evan is just a kick-ass lead guitar player.
Yeah.
Truly amazing. Whether he can sing like Paul, I don't know.
That's
I don't
the
know.
key,
I don't know what Nick can do. I don't know if he can or not. And the big question is, do they want to do that?
Well, that's a good question. I
think Evan is 10 times the guitar player that Paul Stanley was. I've seen that.
Well,
He's
I mean,
amazing.
it doesn't matter though, because if he's taking over for Paul, he's going to be the rhythm guitarist anyway.
Exactly.
So, and I know Nick can sing. I've seen him do stuff on Family Jewels where he sings blues and stuff like that. Right?
Okay. Well, I mean, I think Evan is more of a blues player, so maybe they could start a blues band.
Yeah, I guess the thing about that is you know, I don't want them to do it. No. I don't want. I mean, this is obviously like the whole Kiss 2.0 idea. To me, now it's just a sanctioned, glorified tribute act.
Yeah, if they did Kiss 2.0, I'd like to see them put all of their effort into finding a really good Paul, a really good Gene. I don't know if Tommy and Eric are going to continue on in 2.0, but I'd really, you know, if they're going to replace them, find some amazing lookalikes who sound and look and act just like them. And then it's nothing more than a tribute act. It's no better than any Canadian or American tribute act we've seen come through town.
And how far away is that from the original vision of the band? I mean, if you look
far away.
Oh my gosh! I mean, you think about all these bands, you know, like that were manufactured, and they were so organic when they started. This is so far away from. Why can't we just let them go? Why can't we just let them go?
Because they don't want to let it go.
No, but why can't we do it?
Why can't we? I don't think Kiss fans will ever let it go. There's just too many sites and tributes, and we can't let it. We don't want to let it go.
Well, I don't think we need to let go the music or the history or what they've done, but letting go of the fictitious notion that the band is going to continue. And that's just not going to happen. It's going to be something complete. It's already something different. We've talked about that before, right?
The fact that it's something different now means that it's just 1 degree more different when they finally go Kiss 2.0.
That's right. So that's a great question, Christine.
It is.
I have to say, and I'll say thanks too for joining. It's been a long time coming. So we've been waiting for the 16th show to bring her on board specifically.
16, rock on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on.
Hey guys, some of my favorite pictures of Kiss are when they were wearing their homemade costumes. when they were really hungry and they were very resourceful and they used their own mother's sewing skills and wives' sewing skills to come up with the outfits that they wore. What do you think about the idea of the homemade costumes, and do you think that really reflects the spirit that they had when they were just starting out?
The early costumes, I mean, that came from the heart. You had Peter's mom making costumes. You had Lydia making some I don't know if she made actual costumes, but some T-shirts to help support the band. That's the roots of KISS. I mean, they might have put $10,000 into costumes by the time they hit Dynasty, but I think it loses something. That black and white and silver of the early days, that's raw, and you can't copy that no matter how much money. You can't copy that grassroots rawness of the original costumes.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about it other than it's interesting to see the evolution of things, and KISS is a thing as well. I mean, everything has a path, and they started out with this experimentation. You look at the old makeup, look at the outfits, from lingerie to very basic white faces to and I can imagine myself gradually building. If you think about it, we've kind of done that. Everything has a lifespan like that. Like the show has a lifespan like that. We gradually add onto it. It's much different today than it was then. So it's interesting that way. And we're going to get to some questions, I hope, later. But it's inevitably these things go too far.
It went too far. That's the thing.
The
early KISS costumes were cool because they didn't have the budget to go too far.
Yeah,
when it went too far, it became silly, a.k.a. the capes in Dynasty.
What do you mean? I love the capes.
Yeah, you love the capes. You want a cape inserted in a different colored cape in each copy of Dynasty.
I love the cape. I love Paul's pirate shoulders.
Sure you do.
Right?
Sure you do. Move on. Moving on.
Move on. That's what she told me.
This is about the opening acts of KISS. Who might have been some of your favorite opening acts of KISS? I have seen KISS many times, more times than I could even count, so I probably have more to go on than maybe you guys do. So no disrespect to you, because I know that, if they're in one area more than they're in another, perhaps you can't see them all the time. I have a list in front of me of a few of the key opening acts of KISS. I haven't seen all of these, but what I'm asking you to do is just think about acts that have opened up for KISS and how you feel about those acts, whether you've seen them or not. I've seen some of these, certainly not all of them, but the ones that impress me a lot, some that really impress me. Savoy Brown is one I wish I could have seen, definitely wish I could have seen. Diamond Rio. Diamond Rio has Norman Nardini in it, and it's very interesting to me that I had seen Norman Nardini and the Tigers open up for Joan Jett, and then to have learned that Norman Nardini was in Diamond Rio opening up for KISS, it's a wonder to me. Blue Oyster Cult, that's a big one and a controversial one. Cheap Trick, that's another one that became a quagmire. Rush, who they seem to love, and there seemed to be some mutual respect between the two groups. And Bob Seger, The Dictators. I saw them, I believe, in Madison Square Garden in 1977, opening for KISS. Bon Jovi, The Rockets, they were great. I liked them. Up in New Haven, Connecticut, I saw them. And the Rockettes, they're in two different groups. The Rockettes I saw open up for KISS at the Palladium in 1980. Piper was another one, and that's about it where I'll stop at with that. But I was wondering what you think about the opening acts and how you view them, because I look at it like this. If I spend some of my good, hard-earned economic dollars to buy a ticket, especially nowadays to go see KISS, I have a very open mind. I want to get my money's worth. So I will be looking at these opening acts, and if I don't like them, okay, then maybe I'll look away. But I will try to embrace everything because I want every bit of my money's worth that I could possibly get. How do you guys feel?
So I really like that quite. You and I have talked about this, Jeff, actually, in terms of having a show. Well, maybe it's not you. I've talked to some people on the page for sure about maybe doing a show on just this very thing of starting off talking about some bands that opened for Kiss and as part of a show. And for me, there's three key bands that come to mind when I think of opening acts.
I bet I can guess them. Go ahead.
All right. No. Okay. So you guess them, and I'll tell you if you're right.
No, you guess them. I was going to put my finger up if I
Okay.
agreed with you. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, obviously Rush.
Yeah.
Cheap Trick.
Yeah.
Get that one?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Ted Nugent.
Oh my God.
Do you know all
think
three?
so? Like, yeah. I mean, those three naturally.
These are
fit
the most
with
famous
Kiss.
ones, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many bands that open for them. You know.
See, my opinion on that is it really is a stadium experience. And
Mm-hmm.
from where I was in Newfoundland, where we didn't have that stadium experience, I mean, we really didn't even know if anyone opened for Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's different if you lived in major centers where you got to see them in their heyday, the Love Gun
Yes.
Tour, the Dynasty Tour, and say, look who's opening for them. The only thing I can base it on is from the reunion tour and up. When I saw them in '96, the band who opened up were called D-Generation. And I thought, like, I had no idea who they were. I've never heard of them since. I certainly didn't sit through their set because I wanted to save my. If I'm going to lose hearing, I don't want to lose it over D-Generation. When on the farewell tour in Montreal, they had Skid Row and Ted Nugent. Now that worked. Although I didn't sit through Skid Row because I had no interest in Skid Row, but I certainly sat through Nugent, and I thought that's double whammy. Two of my, high school heroes, Kiss and Ted Nugent, in the same stadium. That worked. This tour, I don't even remember who it was. A lot of people Shine Down, and I
Good band.
but I've never heard of them, and that's what disappointed me. By this time, I'm paying $100 a ticket, and I think, as Christine said, you need to get your money's worth. And I think they should have taken someone like Cheap Trick, or Ted Nugent, or Rush with them. That way, we get our double whammy. Get your $100 worth. I mean, I paid $100, and I didn't even see the first act because. I just didn't. We were running late, but I certainly didn't rush in to see the opening act.
That's
I didn't know them.
It's just because you're out of touch.
Oh, good, big time.
There's some
Big
really
time out of
good.
touch.
There's some really good new bands, but
There's no doubt about it.
but-
There's good stuff out there, and you only discover this stuff when someone recommends it or someone
I know,
suggests
I know.
it. There's just too much to stay on top of. is the
I
problem.
just gave you a hard time, but
I know you were,
but I
shut
think
up.
that it's interesting. Shine Down kind of told me a story, though. It also kind of tells you sort of where the demographic is, who they're going after now, and they're going after
a
young
younger
fans.
audience.
Yeah, young.
Because I
fans.
heard that in St. John, a lot of people bought the tickets. A lot of younger people bought the tickets to see
Sure.
Shine Down and did
Yeah.
not want to see Kiss.
Oh, I talk to young Kiss fans all the time, and they love Shine Down, and that's why I'm sure that's why they picked them. Now we talked about getting our money's worth. That was an interesting concept that you just talked about, Christine. So because for me, I'll give you an example of the comparison. Do I want to see Kiss's usual set? Okay. With however long that is, I don't remember exactly how long it is, but let's take that set plus an opening act.
Yeah.
Or would you rather see them like I saw Rush, which was an evening? It was called An Evening with Rush. It was two
Then it becomes
full
something
sets
different.
by themselves, no opening act.
Yeah. Oh, I'd much rather see, like original Kiss. I don't mean original lineup. I mean something old. Let's just say they recreated Kiss Alive, and said, okay, that's a set. Now we're going to come back. We're going to do the best of Kiss.
Yeah.
Including your Monster and your Sonic Boom. And,
So does that
Whatever
better
else.
value for your money than some other act?
yeah, because I paid to see Kiss.
I think so.
Yeah,
that's
not
that's,
Shine Down.
That's what I was thinking about when as I
Yeah.
just listened to her talk about that was I remember seeing Rush and thinking, hey, you know what, this is better. I get two full sets of Rush, full 3 hours, and I felt like a good value.
Or something completely different. What if they opened up with, and this is kind of wanky, but if they opened up with a band that was more acoustically driven, something that was more folky. I mean, I just for diversity and variety.
See, for me, now I should have learned my lesson in 1977 because I would have told you at that point it doesn't matter who opens for them.
It doesn't matter.
But I would have said that.
Yeah.
But 1977, when the Cheap Trick opened for them, and I fell in love with Cheap Trick. In fact, I said on an earlier show that I actually think that they actually outshined Kiss that night. And
Musically, they may have. Yeah.
well, I enjoyed that performance as much as Kiss at the time, believe it or not. And I didn't know who they were. So you never know. I guess I always give a band a chance if I'm going to be there. But as far as value for money goes, it doesn't matter to me who the opening act is. But I would get more value from Kiss if I saw a longer, more diverse set.
More Kiss and less opening night.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm wondering what you think about this. Who should induct Kiss into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I've heard a lot of people say it should be a guitarist. Who should it be, though? Rick Nielsen? Should it be Jimmy Page? Maybe Eddie Van Halen? Or how about Joe Perry? Who should it be? And I'm also wondering, how much choice in the matter would Kiss have in any say-so for who would induct them? Because what if the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame were to say, we're going to pick Vinnie Vincent to induct you guys? What do you think about that?
I'll start it. Anyway,
Okay.
this is probably one of my favorite questions that you've asked, Christine, is who should introduce Kiss at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? What are your thoughts, Jeff?
I'm not familiar with the ceremony, and I'm assuming someone inducts them officially. I don't know.
Well, let me
I
give
don't
you
know how it works.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
So the one I've seen recently was when Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters and his drummer introduced Rush, and inducted them to the Hall of Fame. So it was about a 5-minute monologue, with a whole bunch of stuff going on, a tribute to the band.
I know they do something similar on the Academy Awards. They'll come out and talk about someone who's getting a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah.
And some celebrity will do quite an introduction
but
that celebrity. Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So that's the way they do it on that show.
Yeah.
On this show, so Dave Grohl would have come out, and he's a big fan of Rush. So that he had he's a musician, his drummer's a musician. They did a big thing for Rush. They actually came out and played the beginning of 2112. And then the band came out. So I thought it was exceptionally cool. Like Dave Grohl, they did a really good job. So if you could pick someone who would do that kind of thing for Kiss, who would you think about?
I think the name Jimmy Page was suggested. I can't see someone who was big and enormous before Kiss came about, but I'd like to see someone who was influenced by Kiss or was
Right.
whose career was furthered by Kiss. So yes, someone like Eddie Van Halen or Rick Nielsen, just someone who's well known in the rock world, but who's probably not as big as Kiss, or whose career was furthered or supported by Kiss.
And of course, the joke with Vinnie Vincent, that's never going to happen.
Vinnie Vincent.
But I have two names,
Yep.
and one is Bill Starkey. He's
yes.
right. No, I stole that. I was watching.
So it's not your idea.
No, I was watching that new Kiss podcast. Podcast I was watching there. I shared on the site.
Podcast,
and,
yes.
And he was talking about it, and he came up with that idea. I said, "Yeah, he's the ultimate fan," and that
He's the original ultimate fan.
exactly. So to me that's perfect in the sense
Yeah.
that because really the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is about the fans. It's
Yes.
not. We've talked about this before. And I even shared recently on our East Coast Kiss Tribute page an old video of Gene kind of knocking the whole thing before they were inducted, right?
Yes.
So that part, the serious part of me says, yeah, it should be a fan like that, or like you said, maybe Scotty Ian, someone from Anthrax, or one of those bands, like you said, we talked.
Someone who's really been influenced by Kiss, and
Yeah.
and they are where they are because they bought Kiss alive in 1975.
Right. The sly dog in me, right? The cynic in me would say, I'd love to see Alex Lifeson from Rush introduce them.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see him and Geddy and Neil Peart come out and play some Kiss songs. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But the reason I suggest that is because Rush was in the same position that Kiss was in terms of how many years it took for them to be inducted. And I mentioned this before in the show about Alex Lifeson's acceptance speech, and how it was a bit of a mockery of the whole thing. So that's my tongue-in-cheek approach to that. So that's why I like this question so much. There's a serious side to it, and then I think it's that choice is going to be really important. I hope it's not somebody that's, I don't know, like just.
I mean, you could really almost insult the band by bringing the wrong person on stage. and what I mean by the wrong person is just someone who's insignificant to the whole, the whole scope, the whole landscape
Lady Gaga
of rock and roll. Yeah, or Miley Cyrus. I mean, to me, that'd be the biggest slap in the face, right? She could swing in on a wrecking ball and then say, "Here's Kiss." I mean,
I think
it's got to be someone who's relevant to the time, someone
I
who's
agree.
relevant to that scene.
I agree. I think that I think the band likely has some. I'd be curious to see what people know about that. I don't actually know that, but I would assume the band has some sign off on who is actually going to do that induction.
Kiss lyrics. I'd like to know what you guys think about Kiss lyrics. I love some of the earliest material because I find that the lyrics are so nebulous, like ambiguous. You don't know what these songs are about. They leave a lot to the imagination. And I'll point out some examples, like for the obvious one that many people seem to point out is Deuce. A lot of people don't know what Deuce is about. I don't even know if Gene has ever explained what Deuce is about, or if he just said something to the effect that he thinks it's a really cool song, and who knows what the lyrics mean. A song like Nothing to Lose, many of us wondered what that was about, but that's been explained, so I think we all know. But I look at a song like Watchin You, and I listen to the lyrics in that, and I don't know if it's a song about limping, walking, stalking, I'm not sure. But it's all very mysterious. And I like that mystery. It's also a nice jam band kind of tune, especially how they did it on a live. But another song that I look at and I could think of right now is Going Blind. With lyrics like I'm 93 and you're 16, one wonders, is that a character in a song who's supposed to be 93 years old, literally, who's having an inappropriate relationship with somebody 16? Or is it just representative of somebody who is an adult having an inappropriate relationship with somebody who's underage and is emotional over it because maybe he sees he's having trouble seeing, he's going blind, that it's not an appropriate thing to do. What do you guys think about Kiss lyrics? And why don't you think about the whole 40-year span? I talked about some early lyrics, but, what do you guys think about some of the lyrics throughout the years and their songwriting patterns with respect to those lyrics throughout these 40 years?
The songwriting certainly evolved. I mean, every song on every album is different when you look at it. But when you consider how different something like Black Diamond is, which is, the title itself is a metaphor for a girl. Same thing with Strutter. And then you have something like Christine 16, where there's absolutely no metaphor or symbolism. It's just smack dab right in your face. Same thing with Plastercaster. Paul's songs are incredibly literal. Mm-hmm. I Stole Your Love. Well, Love Gun, that's a metaphor.
For what?
I don't know, some pistol or something. A cardboard pistol. It's hard to say because the songs are just so different. And then, Gene's songs are different from Paul's songs. And Ace's songs are different. I mean, Parasite. That's a metaphor for a girl. I don't think any of their writing really got too deep into political or social arenas. It really stuck to what was very accessible by the masses, and that is relationships, sex, party, have a good time, and if anything, I mean, we'll talk about the music in a little bit, but lyrically, I don't think no one in there is a poet. Really. I mean, there's no Bob Dylans or Leonard Cohens in there.
Well, what I would say about this is that I think what happened over time, and you can see, she used the word nebulous. Like it was much more metaphorical when it was in the early days. I think they just wrote songs for the sake of songs early on, and they weren't writing from a character's perspective. And I think that's what happened. We talked about the costumes over time. Mm-hmm. Well, they developed their characters more and more. And more and more and more, but then they started writing to those characters. They started writing parts for those characters, like I'm Almost Human, Love Gun, Like you said, Plaster Cast or God of
Yeah,
Thunder.
because Ace's songs became a little more space-oriented.
Yeah,
Rocket
like
Ride.
Yeah, like he never would have
Into the Void.
Yeah, they never
Yeah.
would have. Everything was like driven on that, and
Exactly. And Paul, the ultimate lover, so all
Yeah,
his
and
songs
so
are love
inevitably,
songs.
when you do something like that, it becomes less
Yeah.
genuine. It becomes more contrived.
It is very contrived.
And you
yeah.
could see that as you got past Destroyer was still in that same vein. Rock and Roll Over started to get there. It's just love them, leave
Dr.
them.
Love.
Yeah, Dr. Love,
Yeah.
love them, leave them.
Yeah.
I still don't understand Mr. Speed. Like I'm saying, why would you be bragging about that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My interpretation of it may be wrong, but I'm saying, well, geez, hey girl, I'm fast.
That's right.
Oh,
Please call me Mr. Speed. Internet.
No. I know. That's one. Obviously, that's one interpretation of it. But that's what I think. And I thought we should continue on this topic because, as the songwriting went along, we talked about this a little bit in that they went away from writing riff-based songs to writing, I don't know what you'd call them, chord-based songs.
They were more chord-based.
Yeah, chord-based songs and more, again, more to the character. And then as they got into 80s, they started writing music to try and fit in, as opposed to just writing what came from them and the heart. And then, of course, they went back again when they reunited. Whenever they wrote new material, again, it was character-based. It was like,
Into the Void.
Into the Void. Now, I guess a song like Modern Day Delilah. I just found that when they came back, like the Psycho Circus songwriting was very much okay. We got to have a Paul song, a Gene song.
Yeah.
Peter's got to have a song. Ace has got to have a song. Blah 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 blah. Right.
Yeah. It was very formulaic.
And then what they did with Sonic Boom and Monster was they just went back and regurgitated in different forms a lot of material they'd already done.
Yeah.
Lyrics are actually popping up all over again that they would have done earlier. So the creativity of it all became kind of archaic for me, I guess, if you will. Not archaic, but it didn't matter. And then the best lyrics I can say, honestly, and you haven't listened to it, and I think you need to listen to this album more, it was Carnival Little Souls. It was their most mature thematic album from lyrics. The lyrics on that album are great. There's a song that you should listen to, I Will Be There. It's a ballad that Paul does that I think you would really love if you gave it a chance. But again, thematically, it's the lyrics are much more mature and much more interesting, frankly. They even talk about Kurt Cobain. There's just one of the songs is about Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
When he shot himself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, quite deep, actually.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, see? I would give that one a chance because, anyway, but that more along the lines of the lyrics. Because really, when you think about it, Revenge was, Take It Off.
Yeah.
Unholy was probably like more old riff-based, older style, right? Mm-hmm. Things like that. Domino, but that was more like rock and roll over style, right? So
yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, it's all over the board. It's just.
I think I've already said it. The bottom line is that they started writing. They haven't written songs just for the sake of writing good songs for a long time. It was almost always contrived for quite a while.
That's right. I mean, Paul mentioned somewhere in some video, he says it's weird for him to play Black Diamond, and he hears he's playing like Rio, and 50,000 people are singing the words to Black Diamond, and he says, I wrote this sitting on my sofa in a Manhattan apartment. And I'm thinking, but also think about where he was when he wrote Black Diamond. They were nobodies. It came from Paul Stanley. It came from Stanley Eisen, who was just a local singer-songwriter, up-and-coming musician. Then you compare it to I Stole Your Love. Now this is Paul Stanley, the rock star. He wrote it in a hotel room. It doesn't matter where he wrote it, but it's who he was when he wrote those songs. I think it makes a difference.
I got my Vans on, my Kiss sneakers. Boy, do I love these Kiss sneakers. My intern got them for me as a birthday present one year. I like them. There's Ace Frehley. On the flip side is Gene Simmons. On the other foot is Peter Criss and Paul Stanley. I'd like to know what you guys think about this. Okay, check this out. On Kiss Online, I noticed that the solo albums from 1978 are being sold as, gold-framed collectible items under the names of the Spaceman, the Catman, the Demon, the Star Child. How do you feel about that? I'll tell you how I feel. I think it's one thing if KISS wants to genericize its current lineup and downgrade them to simply characters. But I think it's quite another thing when they start doing that with the original lineup. That's where it hurts in here. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, I have to say that, it was Christine who alerted me to this, and I went straight to the website. And
that explains it.
I was shocked, because everything now is Demon, Catman, Spaceman. I'm so sick of it. And if anything, to me, it was a slap in the face to Ace Frehley, because to me that is Ace's best work. It's his monumental album. It's got amazing work on it. That should be nothing more than an Ace Frehley album. It's not the Spaceman, because right now the Spaceman is a brand and it's a generic icon. That is Ace Frehley's heart and soul. It's his voice, it's his fingers, it's his sound. And to brand that album as something else, it shocked me, and I put a comment immediately on a fan site, another fan site, and I put it on our two Facebook pages, and immediately I was lambasted by some other people and said, if you don't know the reasons why they did that, then shut the hell up, that kind of thing. And I was like, well,
no, they didn't.
No, I
do
don't
that.
know. I don't know the reasons behind that.
That's not how it happened at all. Everybody was very polite to you and didn't call you names.
No, there was no name calling, but basically said, if you don't know the reasons, then don't bitch.
Shut the fuck up.
No, the words were don't bitch.
Don't bitch.
No, I don't know that. And when the reason was explained to me, it made perfect sense. Legally, they can't use Ace Frehley's name.
No name.
However,
no.
If you can't use Ace Frehley's name, then just leave that album alone. I don't know. I can't comment on Peter's album because I'm not a fan of it and I don't really know enough about it. But that Ace Frehley album to me is sacred, and you don't mess with it.
I can tell you what, that whole sort of cycle that's going around that kind of really turned me off quite a bit. And I got to say, it made me really wonder sometimes if sometimes people were spinning their wheels on this stuff and just enjoy it for what it is, right? Because I really got a sour taste in my mouth with it. And it's not just that topic. There's lots of topics like that, and I find KISS fans are rather divisive sometimes, and we're all we all love the band, but we're divisive, and we're so passionate about topics that this topic to me, I'm really starting to migrate away from this stuff. It's not that I don't think it's important. It's like becoming like so what, I mean, who cares why or whatever, because I've said it, whether, and I've always said this, and you can put this on my tombstone if you want to, is that just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And
exactly,
and that's what, and I said that on the site too.
Well,
said,
and
children do exactly what they want to do without thinking about it, and they don't have to worry about, is this the right thing to do? Should I do this versus can I do this?
Yeah, and then it comes down to shouldn't. I think the operative word there is shouldn't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't mess with that album. Look, they can brand so much stuff with Spaceman. You can make as many action figures and little toys and bobbleheads and whatever bullshit you want and brand it as Spaceman, but don't you go after that album. That 1978 album that I love and cherish.
And it's fair game to say, okay, fine. They are allowed to do it. Peter and Ace were stupid for selling this and stupid for selling that. But again, it's not about that. For a KISS fan who loves the band and feels strongly about this, it's a valid opinion. It doesn't mean it's right. It just, but if it makes you feel less attracted to the members of the band, then it's an issue. And it's as simple as that. I personally have stopped being that passionate about those issues anymore, just because I don't know. It's just a waste of time, frankly. That's my thought process on it. So, yeah, but I understand. I'm not saying I'm not trying to I'm not discounting your opinion by any stretch of the imagination. I understand why. I sometimes I realize that I'm not anywhere near as big a KISS fan as a lot of people that I talk to about this.
Yeah, and it's without going around in circles, I just think it was wrong.
I understand. Yeah. We'll get you some therapy.
Yeah.
She asked.
All right.
So I didn't. So what I meant to say on that though is before we finish that is I didn't realize that's how this whole thing started, and I didn't realize that you were a pawn and you were Christine's puppet. Now I know.
Christine's puppet. Well,
yes, you are.
There we are.
She led you down the path, and you just ran.
That's
with it.
right. That's right. Yeah. No, I wasn't aware that that
Thanks
existed.
a lot, Christine.
Yeah. Anyway.
I want to know what you guys think about the original Kiss dolls. I'm asking you this because you're guys, so I don't know how you feel about wanting dolls, or if you even wanted those dolls. I'll tell you what I think. When I saw these dolls, I saw them on the commercial. I thought they look awful. They don't even resemble the members of Kiss. But I still wanted to get them because I had certain thoughts in mind. And one of those things that I thought about was I could put them into any crazy pose I want. And so I wanted those Kiss dolls. And when I got them all. I hooked them up with all my Barbie dolls, and I made a scene that very much resembled the scene that occurred backstage at the Capitol Theater in 1975, those Bob Gruen photos that document that after party. What do you guys think about the Kiss dolls, being that you're guys?
Okay. Well, interesting question, Christine, about the Kiss dolls. I got to say that you can probably guess, Jeff can probably guess what I'm going to say about this, because I've time and time on the show I've said I have zero swag when it comes to Kiss other than this shirt. This is my only swag.
I got about 8 shirts now. Anyway, go ahead.
That's all I got, and I got the music, right, and I've got the memories, and but I gotta say, your story about the Barbies really intrigued me. I really think we need to talk more about your whole progression towards getting that little back hotter than hell back scene thing with G.I. Joe and the Barbies and the Kiss dolls is really interesting. But I have zero interest in that stuff back then. Actually, I found that stuff was a turn off for me, actually, because we talked a little bit about this before. I was 18, 17 years old when I first started getting into the band. So anything that became out that was childish kind of started to push me away from the band. Whereas if I was 12, like some people, it probably would draw me more to the band.
Yeah. So I was 12 and I jumped on board. And the Kiss dolls would have interested me greatly. Living in central Newfoundland, boy, we didn't have any access. I don't think anyone in Newfoundland had the Kiss dolls. They didn't bring them in. So what can you do? I heard about Kiss cards, and I remember going to a little convenience store, and I looked at the guy and I said, "Do you sell Kiss cards?" He goes, "Kiss cards?" Like he had no idea. So I couldn't collect the cards. I couldn't get the action figures. I would have. I certainly would have back then, but I had no access to it. My only other thought on that is around '96 when the reunion was happening. I had a friend here in town who, he didn't have internet. I know he didn't have internet. For some reason, he seemed to get a lot more information than I did about Kiss. Maybe he just had more books or knew more people. But anyway, he said, "Yeah, remember those action figures in the '70s? Well, they're coming back with those." And the first thing I thought was, "Oh, don't do that again. Don't start merchandising the hell out of it. You've reunited. You're on a reunion tour. Just sell your T-shirts and posters and make music." And sure enough, these stupid little, what were they, like a 6-inch action figures with all kinds of weird, it wasn't even the same costumes. Do you remember those?
Yeah.
Around 96, 97. Then the Psycho Circus edition of those came through, and I thought,
I didn't even know.
These are just weird and stupid.
I didn't even know this stuff existed until I hooked up with you in St. John. And when you showed me these dolls, it was the first of many times I questioned your sanity.
No, I mean, okay, you just let the cat out of the bag to actually have them. I thought they were stupid.
You showed them before. You showed them on our first show. You had Ace Frehley coming on the very first show. Yes,
because we were going on a little trip to Prince Edward Island, and my wife bought in the toy store. She saw Ace Frehley. She knew I was an Ace nut, so she buys this little action figure so we could put it on the dashboard of the car as we're driving to Prince Edward Island. So it was almost like a little joke mascot kind of thing. And then just before Christmas, when the students, I taught middle school, and he buys me a Peter Criss one. I thought, okay, well, I got Ace and Peter. I got to get the other two to complete a set. So then I set them up on my mantelpiece.
So were you as twisted as Christine? Did you take the dolls and get Barbies and things like that, or?
No, I have the large ones, the 24-inch ones, which have appeared in other episodes. Just go look for them.
Larger than life, those are.
That's right. I thought about doing something creative with those, but I haven't.
Creative.
I'm not sure yet what to do with them. If I had female dolls that were that size and somewhat, not babyish looking, but somewhat, like adult looking dolls, I could probably do something.
You could do an animation.
Interesting. I could do an animation. Yeah.
That'd be cool. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
You don't think I'm serious?
Well, the thing is, Jeff, I'm scared to take the costumes off those dolls. I'm scared to see what's underneath.
A bunch of love guns, man.
Underneath the lycra.
Oh, that's too funny, I gotta say. So
moving on. Moving on.
What's the next question?
What's your favorite period in history? I can tell you mine. With how they were photographed in Stockholm, Sweden in 1976. There's a number of photographs around. They were in this wooden amphitheater called the Skansen, I believe, this open-air museum. And everybody looked perfect. Those costumes were from the Alive era. And everybody had the right weight. Nobody was too fat. Nobody looked old. Their hair looked perfect. The makeup was perfect. The costumes were well developed yet not overstated. I think by the time they got to Destroyer and beyond, things started to become a little overdone. Those are my favorite costumes, and that's my exact period in history. What's yours?
At the risk of being redundant, I think we should kind of guess each other's favorites here, if you ask me.
Well, I'm going to say that you think because of what I know about you and how much you cherish that 1977 experience. I think you're going to say the Love Gun costumes in the 1977 tour with Cheap Trick. That's what I'm going to guess that you think is that ultimate era. Oh, wrong. Okay, then my second guess would have to be the original Hotter Than Hell costumes, 1973-74. Oh, fuck, I don't know.
There's more eras. Keep going.
God, okay, we know it's not Dynasty. We can put that one out. Okay, right. Destroyer. Oh, God, I don't know. Monster?
Oh, my gosh.
Well, there's nothing less, Jeff. Alive.
There, Alive.
Okay, Alive, yeah.
That was the one. That's it. I mean, those are my favorite. Yeah. I mean, that's why I say at the risk of being redundant. I mean, the reason, I don't know why, but I'm guessing it was it was about as far as I think they should have gone. No, okay, so it's not just about costumes, it's also about era.
Yeah.
Right? So it was to me, it was the purest music that they did with the coolest look. Mm-hmm. I loved the outfits that they had, the simplicity of everything they did, the props on stage, the candles, the sword, the firehouse hat, none of all this other stuff like, snakes. And I found the Love Gun costumes were the beginning of them going over the top. Like Ace's costume, I didn't like. I know you like that one. Mm-hmm. I don't really like that costume all that much. No, I just find there's too much silver going across them. They all look. The costumes looked plastic as opposed to it's like leather boots, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was so for me. It's that Kiss Alive music, the perfect tone era, in my mind, and that was the coolest look. Yeah, by far for me. How about you?
For me, I'm going to say Love Gun costumes. However, the end of that era, bordering into 1978, and this might not make any sense, but I jumped on board in the summer of 78. So that's when Kiss became very real for me, and I had my first album. I saw the movie Kiss Meets the Phantom, and I think just that era. Sometimes for fun, I'll type into eBay Kiss 1978, just to see if I could find some little relic of 1978. And what I usually find are the Don Russ collector cards, or the double platinum album, or solo album, or something like that. Also, the solo albums came out in 78. 79, they went Dynasty. So for me, it's just 1978. Just kind of sticks out. That was my inaugural year as a Kiss fan, and they were still wearing the Love Gun costumes. That's what they featured in the movie. And when they came back in the reunion, they were wearing the Love Gun costumes. So to me, that's the most iconic.
I mean, there's a period there that was obviously special from Alive right through till right up until Dynasty. I started to move away at Dynasty, but that whole series in there. I mean, I started to get Wonder on Love Gun. I did, but that whole series of Alive, Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun period was glorious as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it really was. And there were so many cool things. I mean, I couldn't, but people could find merchandise in the stores, and you saw Kiss in the magazines, and you saw Kiss on TV from time to time. There were TV appearances, and I know what I remember most is just the magazines. You went down to the store, and there was almost any Circus magazine or Cream magazine or Tiger Beat had Kiss on the cover. It was great. It was. And I remember the Kiss pinball machine. Someone in Newfoundland has a Kiss pinball machine because there was a little takeout in a little strip mall down there, and the Kiss pinball machine was there. So I don't know if that ever got shipped out of Newfoundland, but I think someone in Newfoundland has a Kiss pinball machine, and that's my holy grail. I've got to have one.
You've got
sometime.
to have one. I've got to have one.
One of the things that I always admired about Kiss was how they wouldn't take no for an answer. And when they couldn't get the press coverage that they were looking to get, they would willingly undertake these bold publicity stunts to garner attention, such as the walk through Central Park just to gauge reactions of the people around them, or how they stood on the street in the clothes that were used for the Dress to Kill album cover, and also in the subway. And the day that they spent at the beauty salon, the skincare spa, where they got their facials, I think that's pretty cool. And then, of course, when they went over to England, they stood by the London Clock Tower, and you had Paul dangling off the posts there, just this close to falling into the Thames. You know, I went to that exact spot, and I had to pose there. I tried to climb up there, but, you know, hey, I'm not a 20-something-year-old male doing it, so I got up there as best as I could, and I wanted to be in that spot because they were there. But in any case, it's their publicity stunts that I always admired. What do you most admire? If you could pick one single thing that you admire about this group and could limit it to just one, what would that one be?
I think any publicity stunt that Kiss did were great, and they're all great. I mean, the Central Park. I mean, that's great because when you look at it, okay, if Kiss did a stunt like I'm thinking the blood in the comic book, that's a great stunt.
Yeah, I like
but
that.
By that point in time, a lot of people knew who Kiss was, and that made news. But I think when they did the Central Park run, you know, they were completely unseen. Nobody knew who they were. So you're walking down through Central Park in New York, and you don't expect to see clowns. I mean, you might see clowns in Central Park, but now you're looking at 4 very tall, very scary-looking clowns with long black hair and great big boots, clad in leather. It's either, you know, they're either a band or some kind of a marketing gimmick or some kind of maybe someone's shooting a futuristic movie. You know, I mean, you certainly had to take note of these 4 individuals, and I think that's great. And I think what's more interesting about that shoot is not so much Kiss, but the people around them. You know, if you look at, I have to think of one picture of this. It's just this. They're not in Central Park. They're on the streets of New York, but Gene just kind of goes up behind this man, sort of an older middle-aged man with a hat and glasses and a trench coat, and he's just really amused by the whole thing. And there's this woman just kind of standing to the side, and she's getting a big chuckle out of it because Gene's being this real. He's not being the demon. He's just being this clown. You know. I think that's what's interesting about those stunts is the reaction of the people that are around them.
Yeah, that's what makes them work. I mean, for me, I only have a couple. I don't know about all that many of them, frankly. I think obviously Cadillac, Michigan was huge.
That's a good one.
That was probably their biggest and most important one for me. And I also thought when, you know, as you were asking that question, Christine, was, you know, was the blood in the comic book? I thought it was kind of stupid at the time, but the more I think about it, the more I think it was quite ingenious. But that's in retrospect, knowing how crazy Kiss fans are. And, you know, oh man, I got to get one of those comic books with their blood in it. You know, and that really made a difference. So anyway, that's all I would say on that. I would say I think Cadillac was their biggest one, and
Yeah, Cadillac was good. The Blood,
Yeah.
the Empire State Building. That wasn't so much a publicity stunt as it was a photo shoot. I mean, I don't know how much attention it drew. But I think the classic one is the Central Park.
yeah.
Walk through Central Park. Now, I was a little confused by some pictures I saw in an early Kiss magazine when they went. Apparently, it was them in a beauty salon. Apparently, they just popped in to a beauty salon, and some girls said, "Oh, let's do some facials and things on you." When I saw it in magazines earlier on, I thought it was like their professional makeup people removing their makeup or applying it or something like that. I wasn't sure. But just as a footnote to that, here's a funny little Jeff story that happened. About 4 or 5 years ago, the local radio station had a Halloween costume contest, right? And that was a gimmick, right? How does a radio station have a Halloween costume contest? But I sent in a photo of me in jean garb, and I was a semifinalist, so I went on down there. I had to be there 6 o'clock in the morning in full jean costume, boots, and everything. And this other guy, my friend Tony Melo, who I only met that morning, but we've become good friends, he went as Alice Cooper. And what we did was they took it out on the street. They brought the microphone and the speakers out into the street. And we were out there stopping traffic and getting our pictures taken. There was a fire engine went by. No, police car. We got in the police car or stood with the doors open. And it reminded us so much of that, that pose with the fire engine in Cadillac. So then we just walked up the road, because we were just having a blast. We weren't Jeff and Tony. We were Alice and Jean. And right on Union Street, there's an Academy of Hair Design. So we went in, and there were these girls learning how to do hair and makeup. And me and Tony looked at each other at the exact same time. We had the same thought. We said, and his girlfriend Stephanie had gone off to get coffee or bathroom or something. We said, I wish she'd come in with the camera because this was almost like a recreation of when Kiss stumbled into that beauty parlor. Anyway, I just wish I had photos of that because that was such a fun morning. Anyway, I posted in some photos of that event. It was a great time.
Yeah.
And Tony actually showed me how to breathe fire using butane.
Awesome.
It was a great little trick, yeah.
Every time somebody moves out of the New York City area and heads to the West Coast, to me somehow it always seems that they're getting a little soft. Well, when I learned that Gene and Paul moved out to the West Coast, I sort of thought they lost a little bit of their soul, their roots. It just went away. I think that's what happens to many people who move out to the West Coast. I'm wondering if their move really was for personal reasons, or do they think they had to do it for business? And in this day and age, it seems like you can conduct business from anywhere. So why uproot yourself from where you came from? I think when you do that, you lose something in here. How do you guys feel about their move from New York to Los Angeles? Maybe you don't feel as strongly as I do because I'm from this area and you guys are up in Canada, but I'd still like to know what you think.
It's an interesting, and the question that you have, Christine, about did Gene and Paul become soft when they moved to LA from the East Coast? I've moved around a lot in my life, and lived in Alabama, and Massachusetts, and Canada. And while I get where you're coming from on this, what I would say to you is that if they softened up, it was before they left, and that's why they left. But I don't think it had anything to do with being soft. I think it had to do with when Gene went out to California. You know why, Jeff, right? Why did he go out to California?
To fulfill an acting career, or
exactly.
to seek out women. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it was his acting career. That was.
Well, when is it? When did they actually officially move to L.A.?
I don't know exactly, but I know that's my understanding of why Gene started going out there and moved out there originally. It was because he was trying to get a movie career going, and that's where it was. Hollywood was. So it had nothing to do with. Wanting to have a movie career itself might be considered to be softening up from. I'm not from Jersey or New York City, so I know where she's coming from, where you're coming from on this one, Christine. I think they just said their tastes had softened up, and I also think they needed they would be more anonymous out there than in New York or New Jersey, let's say. Can you imagine Gene and Paul walking around the streets of New York and New Jersey? What that would be like for them? They probably can't do it. So,
I think the softening of the music, like around Unmasked, I don't know if that had anything to do with the relocation. From my point of view, I just saw it as, just trying to do something different and try to melt into this new wave of 80s, early 80s music.
Yeah, I don't think Christine's talking about, the softening of the music so much as the softening of their personas and the way they
soften the men themselves.
Yeah, that's how I interpret it.
I really don't know. I mean,
we can't know that, right?
I don't know. I have no comment on that one. It's a good question, but I wish I could answer it, but I can't.
Well, no, that's okay. I mean, I think it's just something that she's interested in what we think about it. And like I said, my key point in that is I think they had already softened up when they chose to move out there.
Okay.
One of the things that I think could make any person fall in love with Kiss was how animated and alive they were in their photo shoots. They were great photographic subjects. Early on, one of the photo shoots that I liked the best is when Peter Criss was holding a dagger. One of the things, though, I noticed about Peter was that as time would go on, he seemed to shrink more and more into the background during these photo sessions. Everybody else was doing their thing, usually, and Peter would just be standing there. I wonder if this has anything to do with, if it's reflective of how he was feeling about his place in the band. When you read his book, you certainly get the feeling that he was beginning to feel like he wasn't as relevant. You could argue maybe he's caused a lot of his own problems back then, but I'm wondering if you guys would view those photo shoots the same way. And also, of all the photo shoots of early Kiss years, what would be some of your favorites?
It's interesting you ask that question because, often, the vision of the band, of Gene, this is the cause of a lot of the separation between Kiss fans is that, the perceived way that Gene and Paul treat Ace and Peter, et cetera, whatever's right, what's not right. Did Peter withdraw? I think that's what happens in these bands, and I think in other relationships is that as the goals don't match up anymore, it's like I think Peter had a certain vision of what the band should have been, and the further that got from Gene and Paul's vision, he's a human being. You probably, it seems to me you'd get depressed and you'd start to withdraw and you'd start to detach yourself. I really get the sense that Ace and Peter both did that, right around the same time we talked about earlier when things started to get maybe over the top a little bit. So I can see where you could see that in those photos. What do you think, Jeff?
I've thought about this topic a number of times, and I've wondered do Peter looks sad in a lot of photo shoots, and I thought, is he really sad, or is it just the face he's making? Because they're rock stars; they don't smile, and they don't bathe.
Right.
See, the only album where you see someone smiling, if you look at Dress to Kill, Gene is smiling, and you see that's Gene the clown. He was very clownish in certain. In certain ways, and then the demon took over. But see, certain characters Paul had his pout, his duck face. Gene had the tongue. And if he wasn't doing the tongue, he had the bottom teeth stuck out, like a little schnauzer would do, like you see on the solo album cover. So what did Peter really have? What did Ace have?
Ace used to do the pouty thing too, right?
Did he really? I don't know. But I think that if Peter's just relaxed and trying to look, I'm not smiling for this album cover. So I think if he's just looking into the camera with absolutely no, just trying to look tough or trying to look expressionless, he just comes across as looking sullen and sad. I don't know if I'm sure he was by the time he reached Dynasty because his heart wasn't in it.
Yeah, I mean, what do people do when they detach, though? I mean, you see it happen all the time, and on teams and groups, people they kind of gradually move to the background, and eventually disappear. They really do, and so I can see where you're seeing that in these photos. She's talking about photos, and and over time, and I think it absolutely is just a function of the relationship that was deteriorating in the band. It has to show itself somewhere.
One of the things that's very interesting about Kiss is how Paul Stanley's banter has evolved over the years. when you listen back as far as Amityville in 1973, he was actually sharing the speaking duties with Peter Criss. That was an interesting approach, I'm sure, because how many times do you see a band and you have a drummer doing the talking to the audience? So Paul Stanley takes over the speaking duties to the audience. He becomes the front man. Okay, that's fine. That's normal. And by the time they record a live, he's able to master this. After that, things start to change somewhat, I guess, as their set list changed. And as time went on into the 80s, it really started to change. And then also in the 90s and up through today. How do you feel about the Paul Stanley banter?
This is something that's come up quite often over the years in terms of, Paul's raps or Paul's banter, and has it become over the top. And I would say I said this, I don't know, one of the more recent shows we talked about. Oh, I know, it was episode 13, because we were talking about our top 13 songs, and we were talking about 100,000 Years Live and the rap that the banter that Paul uses in that. Here's what I would say about that, Christine, is that like everything else in the band, as we talked about it earlier, everything goes over the top eventually. Everything in this world goes over the top eventually. Something is, if somebody comes up with a good idea, it only takes a little while before it's copied and people overdo it and do it so much that you can't stand it anymore. And that's the same thing with the raps and the banter that goes on now. Now it became contrived. The early days it wasn't contrived. The early days it was just a frenzy. And it became more and more thought out, more and more song specific, more and more character specific, right? Could have been out the doctor, even by Alive 2, it became much more prescribed, right? Than it had been prior to that. So for me, I just think it's a natural thing, but I really wish somebody somewhere in this world would have the self-discipline not to do it.
Well, my opinion on that is, kudos to Paul, because no one else in the band speaks, no one else says anything.
Well, when I
listened to Kiss Alive for the first time, I thought, hey, we get to hear them just talking, or hear Paul just talking rather than just songs. I thought it was kind of cool. I like the Alive thing, and that really got me going. I stood up, was like, yeah, I believe in rock and roll. You better believe it. I wish I was at that concert so I could stand up and scream and shout. I thought the whole vodka and orange juice was a little bit silly. I didn't really like that. But I think it's silly when people turn it into a caricature. Oh, the one thing I do hate, I absolutely hate I Want You on Alive 2. Ah, whoa, 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 whoa.
Well,
I know. I want.
Yeah, but again,
what?
That's where it came from.
What? I want. Come on, I'm ready to shoot. I'm ready to shoot the speakers.
Honestly, I hate it even worse now. But you know what it was? Yeah. It was like he was flexing his voice, and he was developing that part of his character.
Yeah, because Freddie Mercury had something like that. If you look at one of Freddie's last concerts around 1987, 88 era, he's doing this thing on stage that's very similar. He's hitting notes and getting the audience to sing them back. It's very acrobatic.
I don't like it when bands just ignore the audience and just play song after song after song either. But I can tell you, we saw Kiss on the Grand Falls, the Salmon Festival stage in Newfoundland a couple of years ago. And they just blew Newfoundland away. 2 years later, we saw the Eagles. Yeah. I got respect for the Eagles, but man, they didn't even know there was an audience there. I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. But I can tell you someone who I would like to compare to Paul Stanley. Yeah. And we've talked about this gentleman a few times now. And an album that you really love, which was Double Live Gonzo.
Yeah, Ted.
Listen to Ted Nugent's raps on that. Yeah. He says, I know nobody came down here to be metal tonight, now did ya? Anybody want to get another can turn around and get the fuck out of here. Right? But you bet your ass. You know what I say? You say what I mean. I know nobody came here to be metal tonight.
Yeah, I know. He can rap it out. Right?
Oh, yeah, he was hilarious.
Well, two things since I brought up the thing in Newfoundland. my wife's brother and his daughter were there, and we managed to run into them at some point in time. It was pouring raining. So it was outdoors, so we found a little tent that some business had left, and we huddled in there to get out of the rain.
Yeah.
So I ran into Rob and his daughter. Now, she was all of, I don't know, maybe 20, 21, and she wasn't a Kiss fan. She just went because Rob bought her a ticket. So, I mean, I'm there in head to toe, soaking wet, but I'm Gene Simmons from head to toe with the wig and the everything. And I looked at her and I said, "What do you think?" And she says, "Oh, I like it. They're funny." I said, "What?" She said, "I really like it. They're funny."
Well, that's what happens, right?
So I mentioned this to Jennifer later. I said, "Brittany said they were funny." She said, "Oh my God, Paul Stanley is hilarious." I never saw it that way, but to the non-Kiss fan,
Oh my God,
this
it's
guy who's
stupid.
60 years old comes out painted from head to toe and starts doing all this banter, right? And shaking his little, remember how he shakes his bum now?
Oh, I can't
You know,
stand
it's
that.
like, I'm 60 years old and I still have a nice ass. So he turns his back and he starts shaking his bum.
That's-
And
I can't wait for
to the
that part.
to the non-Kiss fan, that's hilarious. And I never saw that one coming.
I'm sorry, to a lot of Kiss fans, it's hilarious.
Yeah. So
I-
when she said they're funny, I was just like,
Well,
and one other thing, like I was just getting onto another little point there, and keep it brief. But I think Paul's banter becomes ridiculous when people make fun of it and show how much more ridiculous it can be. And one of the things, there's a band called the Paul Stanleys. Have
Yes.
you ever heard of them?
Yeah, I
okay,
love
they've
that.
got there's 4 guys. It's a Kiss tribute band, but all 4 of them dress as Paul Stanley, and they made this neat little video where they go into McDonald's,
Yeah.
and the guy says,
I want a quarter pounder. And what
Yeah,
goes
but-
going a quarter pounder?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
"I can't hear you."
That's
So what goes good with the quarter pounder? And the guy says, "Coca-Cola, French fries." I can't hear you.
Well, there's that one, and then there's the An Evening with Paul. It's a cartoon. That's that's all of Paul's raps.
Yes.
Interlaced
Oh,
with
I
his
have seen
videos.
that. Yeah, someone
I
put
love
that
it.
together. Yeah,
it's
it's
you're
so
right.
easy to make fun of Paul, but then again, how can you make? I mean, the guy is earning millions of dollars,
Yeah,
standing up there having a friggin' blast.
Yeah, well,
I can't wait to put my tribute band together so I can get up and do something like that. It's fun. I watch a tribute band and it's hilarious. Not hilarious. It's fun when the Paul guy gets up there and does that. And it's like, hey, he's a pretty good Paul Stanley.
Well, you
I think
know-
the
Yeah.
Love Guns we saw this Halloween past. He was a great Paul Stanley. He really was.
Well, it just shows though, like when these things come from, and I say it over and over again, when these raps came from a sincere enthusiasm to try and
Yeah.
whip the audience into a frenzy,
Yeah.
and then it becomes okay. Well, now he says this. They say the same thing every time. Like at this
Oh,
point in the stage, okay, do this. They do the same moves. I mean, even when he it's certain parts of the songs now. He said, okay, this is the part in the song where Paul says this. He moves off to the side, moves his arm this way. He goes back to the microphone, sings again. Now there's a lead break. He goes over, he gets down on one knee, puts his leg out. He sticks out his tongue. There's a guitar pick on it. Puts the guitar, gets up, puts the guitar between his leg, and then he goes back. It's all choreographed now.
It is. And it's automatic pilot is what it is.
Yeah, it
They've
is,
done it
so-
so long that in that way. Yeah.
But it doesn't have the same effect. So anyway, you know what? It's better than being boring.
You know, it's interesting how this group has so often been criticized for their level of musicianship. You guys, I've heard you indicate that you seem to give their musicianship more credit than maybe a lot of other people would. And I'm wondering if you think that if this was a non-makeup wearing band with the same level of musicianship, the same people just didn't wear makeup, if they would be so criticized for not being good musicians. I'm not sure I even understand why people say stuff like that, because they've even questioned their worth, their worthiness, I should say, of getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I have to say, if the Ramones are so highly acclaimed for their songwriting abilities, then why can't Kiss be?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, Christine. I'm not big on the Ramones, and I can't really. It's hard for me to compare, but you can compare in a way because the Ramones had that raw punk, edgy kind of sound, And I think the Ramones are more acclaimed for a style and an image and a groove, almost like a sensation they created. Even though Kiss created a sensation too, I don't think the Ramones are any better musically or any worse than Kiss. You can't compare Kiss to anything like Jethro Tull or Yes, because they couldn't perform stuff like that on stage.
Well,
because of the show. Here's the thing. What was Kiss's original motto? What did they want to be? What were they aiming to be? They wanted to be the band that they always wanted to.
Right, that's right.
Not the band they always wanted to hear.
Right, yeah.
The band they always wanted to hear was the Beatles. So since the Beatles already happened, Kiss were the band they always wanted to see. So right from the start, their motto suggests that they wanted to have something much more exciting on stage visually than what was going on to tape.
My take on this is it's similar but completely different. When I first started listening to Kiss, it was not cool in any way, shape, or form to be a Kiss fan. I remember I was one of a handful of kids in high school, and I was a confident kid, right? So I would be like, there's a picture on my Facebook page there of me back in 1976 or 77 with my Lovegreen shirt on, and blonde curly hair, and but I had long hair, nobody else had long hair, so I was a bit of a rebel at the time, and people who discounted the band at the time really didn't know what they were talking about. They had no clue. It was just popular not to like the band. There are a whole group of music fans out there today, and fans of anything as far as that goes. There are things that are cool to like, and there are things that aren't cool to like. And I really have a problem with people who like things. They don't even realize they're doing it. They like things because it's cool to like it. So let's talk about some bands that are cool to like. It was cool to like, when you think of the 70s and 80s, there were bands that were cool to like. It's always cool to like Pink Floyd. Now, you like Pink Floyd, I'm not saying that. But there are some people who say, oh, yeah, man, Floyd's great, Pink Floyd's great. Oh, yeah, they have no fucking idea. They don't listen, they know The Wall or something like that, right? Yeah. Or Led Zeppelin. That's another cool band to like, right? Kiss was not a band that was, and on the musician circle, they started to look down on them. I remember having arguments with people about which drum solo was better, Peter Criss on Alive or Neil Peart on All the World's a Stage. And this was before I was so I remember all the musicians used to look down at Kiss, but you know what? They never really learned what they were doing. And I don't think real musicians look down at Kiss at all. I don't think they do, because if you look at the songwriting, and the other thing I would say is, what does it mean to be a great musician? I don't care. Like I said, there are lots of great musicians who I don't give the time of day. I can't listen to their music because they bore me to tears because they can't write songs. What made Kiss what they were was the riffs, was the song quality. So you can talk a little bit of passion about this, because I remember back in the day, I'm sure a lot of Kiss fans, and I've heard some other shows talk about this too, about back in the day when they were Kiss fans and nobody else was, and they had to stand up for their band. And I think to this day that's what makes Kiss fans so rabid, is that back in the day it meant something to them. Right? Yeah. And they stood up behind it, and to be a Kiss fan meant. I remember I heard Tommy Summers talking about this one time. To be a Kiss fan meant standing up for yourself, and maybe even having to get in a fight or two. I remember when I was in grade 5, 6, there were some guys who I thought were pretty tough and cool, and they were really into Kiss, and I think that attracted me to Kiss, because I thought, okay, these guys are into it, and there must be something cool about that. I've seen them on TV, I've seen some pictures in magazines, and I've seen records in the stores, so there must be something to this, and then I jumped on board. But what kept me was the music. You talk about what makes a good musician. I think the success, aside from monetary success, is the fact that they influenced me to want to pick up a guitar and start playing the way they did, and to create those sounds and riffs. But you didn't go there because, oh man, I'm gonna be a shredder. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna be this technical master of the guitar. It's because they just did really cool things on the guitar that sounded great, and you wanted to do the same thing.
See, here's the thing. I bought my first Kiss record, and I bought it because I thought it was cool to be into Kiss. I didn't expect that I was going to like the music, and because I had heard some stuff. And now, mind you, this was a friend of mine had some Kiss stuff recorded onto a cassette recorder, and he used to walk around listening to this. And I guess the quality was just so bad. He probably just stuck the cassette recorder next to a record player, and it was just noise as far as I'm concerned. So I had it in my head, it's like, well, even though they look interesting, I don't really like the music. But I got double platinum, and the first side I played was side 4, which had Beth, because I knew the song Beth. So I played it. The next song that came up was Making Love.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, yeah.
That almost knocked me out of my chair, and I thought, geez, I didn't think they sounded that good. And then Paul comes in. I just had it when the girl says, why? And I thought, holy jeez, that's a great rock voice. Then they do a verse, chorus, then the solo. Making Love has one of the most fastest ripping ace solos of all of them. And I thought, jeez, I didn't know they were that good. They can actually play the guitars. Like, I really thought, I could remember, like, I was only 12, right? But I remember, like, thoughts that went through my head was I didn't think they had time to do stuff like that, like a guitar solo, because I thought they're so busy on stage jumping around and spitting blood and waggling their tongues. I thought I didn't think they had time to do something like that, like a guitar solo.
Yeah.
And I didn't think they had the talent to do something like that. I thought that they were just 4 guys who put on makeup and got on stage and really just made noise with the guitars for the sake of making noise. I really didn't expect the songs to be good or them to have any talent or musical ability. I really didn't. So how they had all these albums put out, I really didn't know until I actually got double platinum and started listening to it. And I thought, this is what I've been looking for my whole life. It blew me away. It was great stuff, and every song. And I discovered all those songs just listening to double platinum for the first time. Other than a few I'd heard on the radio, like Hard Luck Woman and Beth. The music, to me, they were great rock and roll musicians. They really are.
It's interesting because what attracted me to the band was the musicianship. Actually, when I think back to 19...
It's what kept me. What attracted me was the hype and the image. What kept me was the music.
Kiss Hello Kitty. You like my hat? I like this hat. It's very good quality. It's not something I'd be seen in public with. Only in this video. You only get to see me wearing this hat in this video because this hat is just something I don't want to be seen in public with. It just looks ridiculous. I just saw myself in the mirror. Oh. All right. What do you think about the relationship that Kiss formed with Hello Kitty? If you want to look back at the roots of Kiss, it's hard to imagine that this very hungry rock and roll band would eventually go the route of Hello Kitty. When I first heard about this relationship, I thought it was ridiculous. I thought, what is next? But when I spotted the Hello Kitty merchandise in the stores, I took a look at the quality. And my value of quality began to overtake my feelings about the ridiculousness of the relationship. And what I thought was ridiculous at first, I began to embrace it. I even keep the tag on because I want it to stay new for as long as possible. So I don't take that tag off. But I like my Hello Kitty bag. In it, I've got more Hello Kitty merchandise. I've got the Demon Diary, where I could write my innermost thoughts that come from my heart. I also have my Hello Kitty pocketbook, all right? My little bag. It's like really for a little girl, but I like it. It's kind of cute. I haven't used it in public, but I do store things in it. I keep my makeup in there. It comes in handy. I like it. My wallet. My Hello Kitty wallet. It's good quality. I like it. There's no money in it, of course, because I'm busy funding Paul and Jean's retirement by purchasing stuff like this and concert tickets. And for you, Jeff Scott, specifically you, I've got this because I know how much you'll love this. My Rock and Roll Over Hello Kitty version notebook, where I could also write some Kiss notes. I took a lot of notes to prepare for this Watchin You episode, Christine 16, in this book right here. I like it. I know you don't like the Rock and Roll Over album cover so much, but I really like it. And the Hello Kitty version, it's just simply charming. How do you guys feel about Hello Kitty and Kiss?
Well, I really, what I would say to this is I'm really happy that Christine, that you were so pleased with the merchandise, with the purse, and with the and the notebook and.
My daughter has the same notebook.
Well, but I thought about it. Like she said at first, like as you said, Christine, at first it was something that you said, "What the heck?" But you really like this stuff, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, I like to.
If you like it.
If you like it, then what the hell? Again, because you know what? I've already given up on myself. I've already stopped complaining that the band isn't what it was in 1977. Well, maybe I haven't stopped complaining about it, but really, I haven't.
You never will stop complaining.
Well, I know, but I mean, if somebody asks me the question, I'll give the answer, but I don't predominate my thinking on a daily basis with, oh my God, I can't believe they're doing Hello Kitty. But it looks pretty cool to me, though. I mean, look, it goes well with your ensemble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very well.
I thought the leather bag looked really cool. It looks like good quality leather.
We should stop and say, Christine looks fabulous.
Definitely.
I really appreciate the amount of time and effort she put into this. Yeah. The whole look is exceptional and really makes me humbled as a Kiss fan, actually, that she would take the time that she's taken to put this together and to put her look together for the show. And love the shoes and the pins and all that stuff.
I have the same pins.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
So, I mean, she's like the Kiss fan extraordinaire, really. And
definitely. She's like the female version of us.
That's twice you're insulting her.
Oh, God.
You did it at the top of the show, and now you're doing
Christine.
it again. How did you stay married for as long as you have?
It's a battle, Jeff. It's an absolute battle. It's a losing battle all the time. Man. I don't know.
You didn't. Well, she's anyway.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about Kitty Kitty? It's like,
it's the same feeling I had with Kiss Meets Archie. It's just stupid. It's they don't need to do that. So why did they do that? That's the question. Why? Why did they?
Can.
Because they can. Why did they need to merge Kiss, a rock and roll band, with? Okay, Hello Kitty aside, I just think. Okay, I've done this before, right? Because my girls like Hello Kitty. Okay, so I'm sitting there, and then Jennifer paid something like $39 for a Hello Kitty a clock radio for my daughter, so she can set it and wake up on her own on weekdays. The quality of the radio is so bad. It really is bad. And I said, Jennifer, it's like anything you'd buy that's licensed. You're paying for the license. There's absolutely no quality whatsoever. I mean, it's the worst sounding radio I've ever heard. $39 for this big plastic kitty. So we have a lot of Hello Kitty stuff in the house. And I say, do you know how simple Hello Kitty is? I said, somewhere in the world, there's a guy on a yacht. Or it could be a woman. Okay, they're sitting on a yacht. Okay, and they've got like a martini in one hand, and in the other hand they've got this check, and on the check is this little emblem of Hello Kitty, and they're thinking, like, I drew this 10 years ago in 5 seconds. There's no more artistic ability in this than a grade 2 would take to draw,
doesn't matter,
their house. I know it doesn't matter, but I'm saying, like, some guy is on a yacht laughing, just having the biggest laugh because this thing has sold millions and millions of dollars in merchandise.
Well,
and it's the most simple, stupid design I've ever seen. However, if it's something like my girls love Hello Kitty, and that's great. So there's a lot of Hello Kitty stuff in the house.
Yeah.
When they merged Kiss and Hello Kitty, although I thought it was stupid, I thought, well, this is kind of cool because now my kids actually have some Kiss merchandise.
Yeah, for you it works, right?
Of course, when Peter Criss left the band in 1980, it was Goodbye Kitty.
Yes. There, you finally got a pun in. It took you 17 or 18 questions, 16 questions to get a pun in, and I can't believe it took that long.
Hey guys, I want to thank you for the emphasis that you place on artists who do Kiss-related work. I know Chris Medic has helped you out a lot by doing some great stuff, and I know Jeff Scott, you are an art teacher. You do some great Kiss artwork as well. So, being that you guys are so good, I want to show you my stuff and show you what I've got because I'm just oh so talented. So I'm going to show you my pictures, and you could let me know what you think of my work.
Well, now Christine added one other little thing. She wanted us to take a look at her artwork. I don't know if you had a chance to see it.
I have seen it before.
She just drew them with her tablet, which looks great, or her phone. I like your artwork, Christine. I mean, for doing it with a phone, that's amazing. I think I like the Peter one or the Gene one. I'm not looking at them right now. I looked at them earlier, but there's some real talent there. My only advice is, if you can do that with a phone, get yourself a sketchbook and some pencils and sit down and take a crack at doing some cool Kiss artwork, because we feature some artwork here on the show from time to time, and there's a lot of cool people out there doing some cool stuff. And something we want to do in the future is a show on Kiss tributes, not just Kiss tribute bands, but the way in which people tribute Kiss through their artwork, their websites, their music, so many different ways. But yeah, I think the artwork is cool. I love it.
Here's a question out of left field for both of you, Jeff and Jeff. If you could take your worst enemy, tie them up, and throw them into a dungeon, which Kiss album would you play over and over again to torture them with?
I'm gonna laugh. I have to laugh at
hold on. I'm gonna wager that we'll guess the same album. That's my wager. But go ahead.
Okay. I think this is one of the best questions that you've asked us, Christine.
Because the ultimate question, the question that gets asked over and over is, if you're on a desert island, what Kiss album would you want to take with you? So this is the opposite end.
I like this one.
Question. This is great.
I like this one because so you think you know what mine is?
No, I'm willing to wager. Yeah, because I'm willing to wager that we pick the same album.
Oh, really?
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, it's a toss-up for me. Mm-hmm. There's three. Okay.
You got to pick one, Jeff. Come on. Play
All
the
right.
game.
Okay. I'll play the game, and then I'll tell you my other two.
Okay.
I would have I would have to say Monster.
Okay. That's not what I guessed. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I know what your guess of what my guess is though.
Go ahead.
You think I'm going to say Unmasked?
Nope.
Oh, really?
Nope.
Oh, well.
But I can see why you'd say that. Yeah, definitely.
Now, my three are, I would go first Monster, then Sonic Boom, then Unmasked.
Okay, you're just picking the three albums. You're picking the three albums that you don't like.
I don't think they're good.
I'm thinking about Sonic Torture.
I think that Sonic Torture. Oh, you're. Well,
you're torturing someone here. This is a repeat.
Well,
this is
Animalized.
This is an LP on extended play.
Well, Animalized is up there too. So I would put Animalized and Monster. Give them two of them. They can go mad real quick.
This is one of my favorite albums.
Which one?
And the album I'm going to pick. It's one of my favorite albums.
Oh, The Elder.
And we did a whole show on it, The Elder. But you know what? There's enough weirdness in that album that would just drive someone wacky. After a while, because you got like Mr. Blackwell,
I think.
And then you got that little monologue at the end. He's got the light in his eyes and the look of a real champion.
Yeah, that's the best.
And then you got the doo 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 doo. So all I'm saying is that if you're going to torture someone, I think you're going to drive them off the deep end, in 60 plays of The Elder, whereas it'd probably take 150 plays of Kiss Alive.
Or one play of Monster.
One play of Monster. Is Monster that bad?
I personally think it is, and I think Sonic Boom is that bad as well. For a lot of reasons, but I actually think The Elder, in the long run, is one of those albums that if you had to listen to it over and over again, it's so diverse that might actually keep your interest if you had to listen to it 50,000 times in a row, as opposed to an album that's right. Yeah. So I don't know. I think Animalize is pretty bad too, though. Like you haven't listened to it a lot, but it just got all this Mark St. John stuff on there.
I don't think I've ever played Animalize.
Bumblebee, dive bomb leads to start every song. Right. Anyway, but I really love that question because I would, it really would be a really fitting end to an enemy to have to listen. I don't think I think my answer was better than yours actually.
So we want to thank our guest host Christine Vitale from New Jersey.
Yes,
and a huge Kiss fan, and thank you again for the effort and the costume and whatever. So we're going to let Christine lead us out with a little song.
Oh,
that's a treat.
It would be fun. And she got us the dress. She got us the dress
and our bandanas and our leathers and yeah. So without any further ado, here she is. You wanted the best, you got the best. From New Jersey, Christine Vitale.
I wanna rock and roll all night and party every day. Stop. Should we do this again?
You're rolling.
I wanna rock and roll all night and party every day.
Yeah. It's even worse. It's worse.
Oh, okay.
This is it. This is the last take. Final take
Okay.
of the night.
I wanna rock and roll all night and party every day. Nice. Nice.